Let's talk today about how to handle disrespect in the workplace and still maintain your peace. When a coworker disrespects you, remember, not every action deserves your energy. And that's going to be true in a lot of cases. But let me be clear, most workplace arguments end the exact same way. Everyone involved gets fired. So let's talk about what not to do when someone tries you at work because your job might very well depend on it. If you've ever dealt with a disrespectful coworker, those mean girls with the attitude, the slick comments, the tone, you know how they are, begging for attention, begging to have you clap back. But here's the truth, what you do in response will determine whether you keep your job or whether you lose it right along with them. And they might not get fired right away, but it's coming. You don't need to help to put yourself in it so that you are subject to discipline too. So let's talk about things you should never do when a coworker disrespects you, and how you might protect yourself legally and professionally. I remind you to please hit the like button if you like my content, and if you've not subscribed, please do so. It helps a lot, and keeping me giving information to you like this. One of the biggest mistakes employees make is trying to explain themselves to get respect. That's how they end up in these arguments. I don't think they start out thinking that it's going to be this big brouhaha, but that's what happens. They're just trying to explain themselves and trying to convince the person they're arguing with to believe them. But here's the thing, when two or more coworkers argue, most companies fire everyone involved. And it's not because they're trying to be unfair. The exact opposite is true, in fact. It's because if they only fire one person, they open themselves up to a lawsuit. It's you have two people there doing the same thing and you choose one to fire, you can best believe the other one's going to come back and sue. So what they do is get rid of everybody. That makes it clean and simple. That way they can say, we're being fair, we took no chances, we got rid of everybody. And that alone, the fact that that's the way it works, should really make you never want to engage with anyone in the workplace. Make sure you don't mirror their behavior. If they're loud and messy, obviously that's their character, but it's certainly not an invitation for you to jump in and get involved with them. A lot of people come with, I'm going to show you, you just barked up the wrong tree, or show you who you're messing with. You lose with that. Even if they started it, you're both going to go down together. So whatever you do, don't try to prove anything to them. Don't match their energy. And number three, don't let your ego speak for you. When ego gets involved, ooh, that's a dangerous thing because ego reacts. Ego is about pride, but strategy responds slowly. Your ego will have you firing off emails, seeing half the department, writing something you can't take back. And let me just take a minute to talk a little bit more about emails. When a lawsuit begins, we go through what's called discovery. And that's what we're doing, discovering all the evidence that's out there. And so we ask the employer to turn over all emails. They ask us to do the same thing. And emails and memos, things that are in writing, text messages, are always at the center of lawsuits. If you, as an employee, send an email that's just off the hook and you get fired as a result of it, even if the employer did something wrong to you, even if they discriminated against you, they are going to be able to show that they had a reasonable, non discriminatory reason for firing you. And this is what most employees don't understand. The law is very much not on employees' side. It is just, the law is not on your side. Here's the thing, the law says that an employer only has to show that they had a reasonable, non discriminatory reason for firing you. So you can be in the middle of a lawsuit and still working there. And then you do something wrong, and it's a clear rule violation, and they can fire you. Now, most people would argue, well, they're firing me because I'm involved in a lawsuit with them. But the court's not going to care about that. If they can show, here's a reason, the reason I fired them, and there's no question that they did this, didn't show up for work, no call, no show, did something that's very clear cut, that's not in question, they can still fire you and probably get away with everything. Now, does that mean that your discrimination lawsuit would end? No, but it sure would make it look very bad. They're already hard enough to win. And if you give an employer reason to fire you, that just really takes you out of the game. So again, you have to show that your employer fired you for a discriminatory reason. Okay, then you carry your burden of proof, and that takes you only so far in the lawsuit. And so then they have to come back and say, no, we had a non discriminatory reason for firing you. And if they can show that, they win. The law is just not friendly. So, anyway, I digress. But emails are just one of those things where people have no idea what they're getting into. So treat every written message like it will end up as an exhibit at trial. Because in my line of work, that's probably exactly what will happen. Can't tell you how many employees have been fired, not for what they did, but for what they wrote. That one emotional email, that one sarcastic response, that reply all that you type too quickly, you can't unsend evidence. Okay, so another thing is you shouldn't waste energy in trying to prove your worth. Your worth is not measured by how well you defend yourself to someone who already sees you as a threat. Your work speaks for itself. Your consistency speaks for itself. Your professionalism, your character. So there's no point in arguing with someone trying to prove anything, especially if a coworker is intimidated by you. That's just not your burden to carry. Yet people do it all the time. It's a no-win situation. At the end of the day, true confidence is silent. Insecurity is very loud. You probably see it all the time in the workplace. In fact, the loudest person in the workplace is usually the weakest person in the room. So protect your peace. Don't get involved with the drama dragons. Document everything, focus on your work, and don't let someone else's insecurity cost you your job. See you next shift.